So again, you do this long enough, and I think you realize that the biggest obstacle I have is my client comes in and they got a problem and they're over here, and they know that they want to get to a different place. And the issue is that they don't know how to get there. They don't know what they don't know. So the first thing I think that's an obstacle that we try to address straight on is to really explain to the client, they don't really care that much about the papers that we're drafting, even though those are important. What they really care about is it going to get done right? Is this person, is Todd and Wealth Planning Law Group, are they trustworthy? Do they know what they're doing? Are they going to help me get from this bad spot to where I want to be? And by us understanding that, it actually helps overcome one of the big obstacles, because in the client's mind that they're sitting there, they're bewildered, they're scared. So we can help by explaining it very clearly to them. You'll never hear me talking about, specific tax code sections. We're gonna put it out in a way that people can understand. We're actually very visually based. We have specialized software here where we actually have, diagrams and flow charts that can very easily, a client can see exactly what's going to happen. So I think by us clearly explaining things, always acting in our client's best interest, and then setting fixed fees, I think all of that stuff combines to overcome some of the hurdles that the client's facing in their own mind. From our side, we will have hurdles sometimes, if there's a child that wants to dispute the will. Well, we've handled many, litigated successions, and we certainly can handle that. And I get really passionate about that, because if my client wants to leave his assets to persons A and B, and person C's coming in, then, I've got a real problem. We're going to make sure that, to the best of our ability, that the deceased client's wishes are carried out. But there's all sorts of minutia that gets involved when you're doing a succession that can really be obstacles to people. I've seen some attorneys, as an example, that they tell the client, you go figure out what the date of death values are on your real estate and your bank accounts. Well, when you're dealing with the loss of a loved one and you're feeling kind of lost and not where to go, I don't think that's in your best interest. I mean, we're going to take the bull by the horns, and we're going to go contact the banks and get those date of death values. We're going to contact the life insurance companies and fill out the forms and get them processed. We're going to go contact, your retirement plan providers and make sure that those assets get distributed right. We're going to advise you with our tax specialty, what we can do relative to the valuation and how that impacts you from a tax standpoint. So, there's all of these little things. We have some clients, for example, that have, stock certificates in their own name. And the problem is that if you hold the certificate in your own name rather than being held in what's called street name by a broker, it is a huge problem trying to deal with these transfer agents, companies like CompuServe and groups like that are out there that are, they're the transfer agents. And let me tell you, if you're not, used to dealing with that, I mean, we'll send them letters, they don't reply sometimes. There's stuff going on like that you really want somebody that understands all of these nuances. It's like I said before, if you were having a heart attack, don't go to a podiatrist. The lay public out there doesn't really understand that by going to a specialist, I mean, this represents what you've worked hard for your whole life, every day. You've been working hard and striving, and then you pass away. Don't you think it makes good sense to have a will that's going to govern everything you've worked so hard for, done by the very best you can find? Don't you think that when you lose a loved one, that you should find the very best tax and estate planning attorney you can to make sure that process gets handled properly and in your best interest? To me, I see too many people over and over that get hurt, by not going to a specialist, by going to somebody that calls themselves an estate planner, but they don't have the experience or the expertise or the qualifications that we do, because anybody can call themselves an estate planner. Are they really good at what they do, and how do you figure that out? And in one of the other videos, of course, we'll be talking about, why somebody should maybe choose us as opposed to some of the other providers that are out there.